Hey, what's up, Lightbolt Joe here. Today we're going to discuss the brand new 2024 Universal film Wicked, Part 1, technically, but it's just called Wicked. 2 hours and 40 long minutes. It goes so quick, you don't realize that it's been almost 3 hours. Well, it's over 3 hours when you incorporate trailers and the commercials and the ads they put before the film. I don't enjoy going to the theater anymore for movies because you have to sit through 30 minutes of ads and you have to watch ads on your phone and TV anyway when you're watching any streaming service. So what's the point? I haven't done a movie theater movie in a long time. And I was skeptical, but I knew that this was going to be a moment. This is a cultural moment. This is a moment. And I had to see this in theater. My family and I saw Wicked in 2003 when it first came out. Not the very first day, obviously, but we got to see the original cast, minus, I think, Dr. Dilman. I think the Dr. Dilman we saw was different, or the Madame Morrible was different that particular day. But the rest of the cast was original. We saw Kristen Chenoweth as Glinda. We saw Idina Menzel as Elphaba. And so I was obsessed. I've been obsessed for 20 years. And so blasting the soundtrack constantly and them announcing finally that they were going to actually make a film, and then announcing finally that Ariana Grande was going to be playing Glinda, and Cynthia Erivo was going to be playing Elphaba. Jonathan Bailey was playing Fiyero Tigalar, and they gave them last names. Finally, they used their last names from the actual book. Fiyero Tigalar, Glinda Uplands, Elphaba, and Nessa Rose Throp. And then they gave Bach a last name in this too, played by Ethan Slater, and Bach's last name in this is Woodsman, which I thought is clever, even though he doesn't have a last name in the book. But I thought it was clever because Bach's character turns into the Tin Man and Tin Woodman in this multiverse, if you will, and Fiyero's character turns into Scarecrow in this. So it was neat having these names. You have Chistery the monkey named. Chistery is a snow monkey, technically, in the book, but it's still nice seeing the representation from the book to the screen. Nanny in the book is played by a bear in this, Nanny Bear, not an actual human, which is fine, but they incorporated some book stuff to this retelling of the Broadway, which is a retelling of the book. So I like that they have certain elements to this which are new, especially that Dancing Through Life duet scene. Oh my God, gorgeous, gorgeous. The Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth as the Emerald City Oz players. I thought that was a beautiful scene as well, adding it to One Short Day. So certain things were added to the show version, but it amplified. So Act 1 is definitely not 2 hours and 40 minutes long. The entirety of Wicked is closer to that 240, Act 1 and Act 2, play-wise. But how did they make the first act into a 2 hour and 40-minute film working so well? And going back to memories of me as a 13-year-old, sitting in the theater with my parents and with my brother, who was 11 at the time, and just in awe. Could not believe the incredibleness that this actually was. How could they do justice to the play? How could they do justice to the Broadway show? And they did justice, let me tell you. The practicality of it, the 9 million tulips that they planted for that first opening scene and you never see them again, the building of actual shiz, the building of the actual wizard puppet face, the building of the sets, building of Munchkinland, like not much CGI was used to this, and it's so enamoring watching this because it's real, it's tactile, like you can touch these things. The actors are actually interacting with actual sets. It's rare that this happens now. Back in the day, 100 years ago, when movies first started, that's how these things were. You had a practical set, you had to figure out camera tricks, you had all this technical wizardry, no pun intended, to figure out how to make cinematography, to how to make the audience believe that this was happening, right? Depth perception, all these tricks. And they were using these types of things in this. So it was an homage to film. It was an homage to moving pictures, cinema, in the technical aspect of this as well. If this film doesn't win all the awards that it's nominated for, I will be speechless, because the cast does an incredible job. The believability of Elphaba, the believability of Glinda, the believability of Fiyero. The three mains did an absolutely incredible job, but then you also have who is it? Michelle. What's Michelle's last name? You? Who did an absolutely incredible job with Madame Morrible. Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard, Oz. Oscar, for that matter, his name being Oscar, coming from the human world, traveling then to Oz. He did an incredible job. Everybody did it. I have no complaint about any of the acting, singing, dancing, nothing. The talent was absolutely perfect. Ethan did a great job with Bach. The actress who plays Nessarose is actually wheelchair bound. So I appreciate the hell out of the fact that they got actual representation, that it wasn't an able-bodied person sitting in a chair. I loved it. Loved it. Representation matters. Hashtag representation matters. But the whole allegory of why the wizard was blaming the animals for all of these things, it's to get a common enemy, to lie to the people for control. And we see that constantly within regard to election cycles. So it's amazing to see art imitate life in general. This is a show that's been around for 21 years. The book itself that it's based on has been around since 95. So it's just, nothing has changed, but things have changed at the same time. Then it leading into the whole end of Act 2 song, For Good. I have been changed for good. So when are we seeing that for good change in regards to the change that actually is good versus the change that actually is not good? I'm very flabbergasted as to how poignant the release date was in regards to the past election cycle that we just had in the States. Bro, so I'm very curious how Wicked Part 2 is going to fare in regards to theater and art imitating life next year. Very, very interested as well. This is going to win so many awards. I'm very excited, but I'm just blown away with the believability. Now, it's taken me quite a few days to actually sit down and discuss Wicked because it's near and dear to my heart. I've been a fan of the 14 Oz books, original Oz books from Al Frank Baum for many years. I have a tattoo specifically from the 7th book, my Ojo Clover tattoo. I've talked about how it's hard to champion the books because of how vocally racist Al Frank Baum was in regards to Native Americans. So how do you say the monster's creation is great without mentioning the monster? Because the world he created is fantastic, but he himself is an awful human. So I don't know how I'm supposed to say these things. But then moving on to Gregory Maguire, who wrote the 95 book, then the 2005 Son of a Witch, which we just actually did a back-to-back reread / audible reread audio booking I'm now doing from now on. It's just so much more convenient for my psyche and attention span. I'm now currently reading the 3rd book, Lion Amongst Men. Then we have Out of Oz, and then there's the 3 books after that, which is the series revolving around Elphaba's granddaughter, Rain, who is Lear's daughter. So I'm very excited to read all of these things, catch myself up. But I wanted to read the 1st book again before I watched the film, to see those little things, and I did notice those little Easter eggs and stuff. Easter eggs to the film, Easter eggs to the 1939 film, Wonderful Wizard of Oz, The Wizard of Oz. Easter eggs to the book, 1901, Wonderful Wizard of Oz, 1900, Wonderful Wizard of Oz. That you had Easter eggs to the show in general. So it's just nice seeing these things and me knowing these things. I know the movie, I know the play, I know the book. So to know all 3 source materials, to then see the show and just freak out, and to have these incredibly talented individuals use their real life pains and traumas, focusing into these characters, I did not expect to have chills throughout the entirety of watching this. Now, I watched this past Saturday. It's now Wednesday. I'm recording this. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's taken me 4 days to sit down and discuss this because I didn't know how to word certain things. I didn't know how to word how speechless I was while watching this and after the fact. I've never seen anything like this before. This is the first of its kind. You don't see that raw emotion normally in acting. You don't normally see that much believability in an entirety of a cast. You see it in certain individuals. I've said this a few times. Dylan O'Brien is very believable. Andrew Garfield's very believable. Emma Stone's very believable. Certain actors and actresses are very believable in the characters that they give us. But it's not normal for an entire cast to be so believable. You have Fierro just flirting with everyone that breathes. And it's just this by chaos of glory, and I don't know how else to explain it, and it's absolutely wonderful. Um, I'm 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 in awe with how well of a production John came about. John Chu being the director of this. I'm amazed too that the talent had so much creative freedom as well. For instance, Steven Schwartz is the musical director of the show, and it's his songs, and he was brought back to do the music for the film, and he wanted to change popular. He wanted to make it more hip hop. And Ariana has a quote now that's going around saying, "No, no, no, I'm Ariana Grande playing Glinda. I don't want to be Ari playing Ariana playing Glinda. No, we're going to keep it as you wrote originally. That's how we're going to do this." So for her to have all this star power and creative force in regards to her song Popular, bro, flowers, kudos, snaps, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm worried now watching future films because now this is the bar. This is the bar. How incredible Barbie was last year, now how incredible Wicked is this year. We're going to have another incredible Wicked next year. And what's after that? You're going to have one incredible film a year moving forward, right? If Barbie was 23 in regards to that acting, that believability, that true sense of self, that was Barbie, right? And then you have 24's Wicked, without a doubt, no question. And then you'll have that for 25 as well, Wicked Part 2. But what's after that? What happens in 26? Like, films are now being set at a standard which I didn't know was possible after seeing incredible talent with in regard to acting and storytelling for Barbie. And then here we are now with the believability and the life imitating art. Allegory aside, I mean, just the talent alone, like, how do you compare future films now? How do you not compare future films now? Because this is setting a precedent which I didn't even know existed. And here we are now with such high first class standards where I'm nervous watching other films and I'm saying, bro, what the hell? What acting was that? Lazy. I'm concerned moving forward because nothing's going to live up to this. 1 and 2. Wicked Part 1, Wicked Part 2. Amazing. Stunning. I was speechless for 4 days. It took me 4 days to sit down and actually figure out words to discuss how incredible this project is. I found the words. Sometimes you gotta take some time, find your voice, and let your voice be heard. I did that. It took me 4 days in this particular situation. Sometimes it might take people many years in regards to general life. To each their own. Life is not a race. It's just this happy gallivant through the promenade that we have to go through. You're born, life happens, you die. The stuff in between, that's the adventure. So everybody takes their own time for their own adventure, and that's fine. It's not a rush. It's not a race. I'm constantly looping the soundtrack. It's just constant. There's constant Spotify repeat over and over and over again for the past 4 days. And I wouldn't change anything. Wouldn't have it any way other. I need the second film quicker because more incredible songs are in there. They did add new songs in the second act from what I've been reading. I think Fierro gets his own song in this next upcoming act as well. I think Jonathan was like teasing that, something like that. Bro, Jonathan Bailey is just a force to be reckoned with. All of them. Cynthia, Ariana, all of them forces to be reckoned with. But they all had me laughing at certain points. They all had me crying at certain points. My jaw was dropped for a solid 30 seconds once the credits rolled. Once the end of Defying Gravity happens, she does her riff, but her own version of it, and then Wicked Part 1 to be continued, Fade to Black, credits. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what we saw. Precedent is set. Incredible film. Wicked Part 1. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.